to tuck my wire.
Putting that Tennessee shoe polish in there and, go all natural.
Yeah, there you go, man. Are you good on as far as volume going on mine here?
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
It's so nice that somebody cares.
Hey, I try my best. Thank you for asking me to do this, by the way.
Man, I couldn't help it. It totally selfish. Right. So I'm just cruising, taking a break from Baldur's Gate. Went on YouTube and all of a sudden this thing pulls up on the Doom charts. I go, what the hell is this? And you're like loud, bigger than life, shouting out the Doom charts. And the stick you have, man, I hope you stick with it, putting the numbers in the jar and then pull it. Rich Piva looks like he writes everything, man.
Yeah, that last episode, he was it a double or a triple? I think it was a double. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a double.
I'm really proud of being allowed to do something like that for such what I consider to be an important thing. The Doom charts for a long time have. I just think it's a great source. There's a ton of music floating around out there. It's easy for something to kind of fall under the radar, and I just think that the team behind the Doom charts, yourself included, are doing a lot more than what people are realizing to make sure that every month there's this massive list of music. Meanwhile, I'll hear random comments of, man, there's just not any new music out there. And I'm like, dude, you are just not paying attention.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I remember, I discovered the Doom charts around 2016. You joined in 18, right?
I think that's correct, yeah. Maybe summer 18.
So, to me, JJ, John Gist, Leanne Ridgway, these are giants. Right. All of them. And so my partner, Julie, business partner and girlfriend, I'm not doing that PC crap. No, my girlfriend, I love her. She says to me one day, well, maybe your goal this year should be to get on the Doom charts. And the milk, came out of my nose. But even though, like Groucho Marx said, I wouldn't ever be a club that would have me for a member. They are kind of exalted. I mean, they're special people, and they have been for a long, long time. So I love how you describe the Doom charts. So let me just put you on the hot seat. Describe the Doom charts like I'm 4 years old and I don't have a clue.
I think the best way of simplifying it is that it's a group, around 80 people now, I believe, that are worldwide, and we're all music connoisseurs of all types. Just because it's called the Doom charts doesn't mean that we only deal in Doom music. That's one thing that a lot of people misrepresent. But I will say I love the name Doom charts, and I think it perfectly fits with what goes on here. But somebody might be into rock and roll that's a little bit heavier and off of the mainstream circuit. It might be sludge music. It might be doom. It might be psychedelic rock. All these genres are encompassed into basically what is known as underground music to most everybody. And what you listen to in a month may not be what I listen to in a month, but at the end of that, we collaborate in submitting a list of our favorites of the month, and those are then compiled together and voted to create what becomes the Doom charts at the end of the month. So basically, it's not a be-all, end-all list. It is just amongst this group, these are our favorites of last month.
Yeah, it's an amazing process. And I met Remy, who's the dude who does the compilation of all the votes. He was at Desert Fest 2 weeks ago, and he does it pretty much by himself. Things are on a weighted scale. So your number one is going to have X amount of points. My number one has X amount of points. And then that's how they tabulate the top 25.
Oh, I was just going to say, I forgot to mention that. The top 25 are the ones that get a blurb, a little bitty short music write-up to describe the album. And then we slowly added a little bit more. I think it wound up becoming a top 30, which those last 5 were just noted as honorable mentions. Now it's around 40, which I think it's funny to have a top 40, like top 40 countdown. I don't know if it'll ever expand to 50 and beyond, but that cracks me up just to think of it. The Casey Kasem top 40 of the Doom charts.
It sounds like a no-brainer, like it would be easy. That would be a fairly massive, although they do have I don't know if can we talk about the super secret? Will I get turned into ash or a pillar of salt?
I don't know. I would say let's just keep it as what we would talk about amongst an open court.
No, there is an entire list that exists. So in any given month, there'll be, I think the average would be right around 350 submissions.
Yeah.
From all of us together. And I think it's a big deal for any band to end up on here. I know I've talked to a few of them. It's make or break. Especially if you've got a young band, they put out their first, second, or third album. They've never toured except for outside of the Chattanooga, Tennessee area. Shout out to Dope Scum.
Hey, Cody.
I did a great video with him.
It's a fantastic interview. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we kind of discovered each other yesterday.
Cool.
And it's one of those things where, how do I not know this guy? Mm-hmm. But like JJ once told me, we don't have time to really read and fraternize, so this is really cool. But these small bands get on the charts. I've had two. Desert Wave, the other one, I always do this when I do, I forget everything that I want to talk about. Desert Wave was a band out of Italy. They were going to break up after that release, and I did my little thing. Next thing I know, Outlaws of the Sun picks it up. They do a review, a couple other people do. They're like gigging. They're getting ready for their next album. So it makes or breaks the bands.
You know, as someone who does a listening and reviewing of something, what more could you really feel that you would get out of this other than that story? You helped this band that is definitely worth it get that extra little push to not just collapse in this, and this sounds negative, but it's not, this tsunami of music that's constantly washing ashore. And yet they were in this pit of despair. You know, Scott saves the day. It's like, I got them in this area, and then they're on this blog, and now people are talking about them again. And next thing you know, they've got this revitalized energy, and they're out there, and they're touring, and they're successful on whatever level they want to be on. That's another thing I love about this specific area of music, is you can have a home recording and submit it, and somebody will love it just as much as if you were one of these massive bands, because we're not looking for the next massive band, we're looking for the next album that we love. And a lot of people will they associate numbers with fame, and I've never been that way. I mean, if I look at it as 10 people in your room is a party. If you got 10 people listening to your album, you should be happy. You know, if you're looking at, you know, we're not playing 100,000 seat arenas, you're obviously missing the point of why you picked up an instrument in the first place.
Yeah, and a band like Elder comes to mind. I've seen them in 200, capacity venues. They played St. Vitus, where if you shoehorn 200 people into St. Vitus, nobody's moving.
Yeah.
That place trips me out, man.
Yeah.
It looks much bigger. It looks much bigger on TV.
Yeah. Well, I love following them on social media, and I love the whole backdrop that they have there, the logo. And so, very, very cool. Very cool.
Max Volume Silence is one of my favorite channels. They put up the stuff. I was right there. I was literally 1 foot away from the camera, and it was 115 dB at peak, 30 feet away from the stage. Man, that place was loud. This is the second time I've talked about it. And it isn't that I, to go ahead and build on what you said. So I wrote that piece. It just happened to catch the attention of a bigger fish, and then it goes to a bigger fish. So the exposure from the bloggers, the small one, admittedly, I'm one of the smaller blogs, definitely one of the youngest. It just generates this weird ripple effect that, if you get on there on your channel and you spit out a band, and I know you're a new channel, right?
Yeah, I've actually had, previously I signed up on YouTube around 2010, maybe, when I opened the record store, which is Inherent Records. Okay. And I was putting bands, I have a label also, Inherent Records. I was putting some bands on there, like clips at the time. And I couldn't really figure out how to do it other than record on a cell phone, upload it. Maybe somebody else will come to the next show we host in store, because I loved doing that. I loved using the store as a venue. So bring in new bands that are touring. You don't have a place to play, or the local clubs are booked. You hit up the record store. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to play at 6, so it's a matinee, but we'd love to have you. I've got a sound system that's all the way to the sky. It looks like Slayer's playing in here every day, but it's only going to hold, about 30 or 40 people max, so, but a lot of people that played really had a positive, outlook on it. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to play. Thanks for having us. And that's all we really wanted, because we love the bands that we brought in. So I would post clips of them playing and hope to get other people in the area to come see more bands. And then over time I drifted away from YouTube, and then I wanted to get back into it, because when everything shut down in 2020, some friends of mine invited me onto a Facebook group, and we would do live videos and talk and all this stuff, but it was behind a closed door. You had to be a member of that group to be seeing all this stuff, which for me, I'm the absolute recluse. I'll be the guy that's literally sitting in the back corner in the dark, not talking to anybody at the venue, but I'm absolutely having a blast. And people will say, "Man, you look like you're just not having a good time, dude. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Man, trust me, I'm okay. This is how I have a good time, is I sit silently and I soak up the music, and it is what it is."
I'm that guy too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm that guy.
Yeah. So ultimate recluse. I rarely get out and do anything unless it's music related. Go to the venues, enjoy the shows, play in the band, do that stuff. So, but I love when I get to meet my friends out, and I love spending the time with them. But they'll all tell you that, I'll be quiet in the group, but I'm happy to be there. So I was always that person in these live things, doing what we're doing here. For some reason, to a bunch of strangers, unlocked some weird thing. I don't exactly know what it was. It's probably nerves, to be honest. Now that I'm thinking back, because this was 3 years ago. So in my effort of not being nervous, I started coming up with all these ideas, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be alone on camera in 3 days. What do I do? Because it's kind of, you booked your slot on these things. And I got nervous. I developed a bunch of games. Like, how can I talk about music? Okay, I'll draw this number, and this number will be about, heavy metal bands. And I'll pull out this record, and I'll talk about this heavy metal band. And then I'll play a little clip of the music. Hopefully, Facebook won't shut us down. And then, as it's playing, the fun part was you had the message board where people would comment. So somebody else might go, say we're talking about a glam band. Yeah, those dudes were the prettiest girls I've ever seen. Something like that. And then that would just, from being nervous, would explode into, well, you're the prettiest girl I've ever seen. And, of course, that gets a reaction, which gets me more hyped up. And that turned into this thing that just over a 3-year course of time has turned into what I'm now doing on YouTube. So I realized all of this stuff's been hidden for years. I've done all this stuff every Wednesday for 2 to 3 hours every Wednesday, every Sunday morning, every Sunday evening for at least an hour. That's a lot of content for recording, especially in a live setting. Lots of games, lots of comedy. I still have people message me and they'll say, man, I remember the first time I ever watched you live, you were talking about Bon Jovi, and then I said, what is this? And then the next thing you know, you went on a 30-minute rant about how I'd been sending you nude pics asking for Bon Jovi records. And it's just, and it's all totally true. That's a real story. Because what else are you going to do? I imagined it all to be like, in your town, you have a few friends that are like-minded. But in the internet, and especially behind a closed door, we're all in the same room because we like a thing. And that just made it so easy to, when you threw out a pop culture reference, somebody else would comment back, I know exactly what he's talking about, or that's super funny, or I never thought about JJ saying dynamite in years, or whatever. So it could be whatever, And then I started getting more and more comfortable and more excited about these. And then I got to where it's like, Wednesday's coming, I got to prepare. And it started getting fun, like really fun. Mm-hmm. And I thought it kind of translated well. We'll jump forward all these 3 years now. And I was like, well, I've been hiding behind all of this because I never wanted to put my name in front of the store, my face in front of the store name. I have Monuments in Ruin, which is the podcast, and people hear me talk. It's kind of the all-encompassing entity of things that I do. Mm-hmm. The store has always been a record store and label, and I wanted to treat it seriously. Well, eventually, I started realizing everything I'm doing and promoting, it's like, am I promoting Monuments in Ruin, or am I promoting Inherent Records? And is it me that's hiding? And what am I hiding? So I started tying them together eventually. Hey, go to inherentrecords.com to buy records. Go to monumentsinruin.com to listen to the podcast. That's the same website. They just link to the same spot. So it's like, why am I hiding? Let's just open the door. Now that I feel a little bit more comfortable, let's start the YouTube channel up again. The YouTube channel, I didn't realize when I joined my cell phone service, I accidentally started a secondary channel. So all of the initial store videos were under @Inherent Records.
Okay.
The new videos were showing up as like something else, but it was Inherent Records, period. Like, it had something else behind it. I was like, I really want to tie my name together specifically because Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, they are all @Inherent Records. One, just no spaces, Inherent Records. It bothered me that YouTube couldn't be that way, so I was like, I'm going to delete the old account, try to recover my screen name, and put the new content videos where I'm at now. I got to sacrifice something, but I want my name. So that's where we're at now. I finally acquired the name, and I'm like, okay, the doors are open. It's not behind a closed door anymore. YouTube is a public access. What do I do with it? And then I started thinking, what have I done? I've kind of opened up this door.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
The urge for creativity is what I was seeking. I was having fun with these live videos, but if a lot of it was record sales for the record store. Mm-hmm. So I sell records, and it's great. You and I are chatting, and we're selling records, and we're laughing. It's great. No problem. The stream's over. Tomorrow I've got to pack records. I'm not getting paid to pack records, which is totally fine. I would have fun packing your records. I'd be like, you know what, Scott, I got this Dope Scum sticker. I'm putting that in his record order. So it was always a game to me. But again, we're talking about 3 consistent every Wednesday, every Sunday. There's a lot of packing, a lot of shipping. Yeah. You can see how this adds up. And I'm not complaining about any of that. I love all of those people and thank them for their support. But the creativity that I was seeking out was starting to falter because I had to work. Mm-hmm. So how can you write music, record music, do videos, whatever it is, and I'm really have this creative drive. If you give me 5 minutes of spare time, I'll start a new band. I can't have that time on my hands. I've got to keep moving. I'll start a new project. I'll start silk screening. I'll start doing something that, if I have 5 minutes to spare, I'll start a project that takes me an hour, and then I'll just be floated again. So my urge for creativity started focusing on these live videos, and all of the fun moments that people still relate to me have kind of been lost behind this block of a door. So I want to bring that into the public and do something that's music related, something that's fun, and not the same thing as what I did there. Those days are over. So if you weren't in the group, sorry gang, you missed it. But that attitude towards making videos and doing something creative is where I'm at now, and it really has kind of got me onto YouTube. It's like, well, what am I going to do? Let's talk about records. I got plenty of records. We can do that. Let's talk about new releases. We've got plenty of those coming. We can talk about that. And then just all of a sudden, I was like, the Doom charts are this thing that we do every single month. Mm-hmm. Let's try a Doom charts video. But how do we do it in a way that's fun? Well, that's what that mystery draw is about. Because that's the way my show started, was me drawing a random number, and it was from a list of where I would do character names. Like one might be I can't think of it. I might talk like an old lady, or I might talk like Elvis, or I might whatever the names were on there, or I might play a funny song on the guitar and try to make fun of the lyrics that people are typing. That's where the draw came from. Let's see what numbers we draw. I've already got the bucket here. Let's do it. And then everybody was really excited about the first video, so I thought, well, let's try another one. And then now we're a few weeks in, and that's where we're at now.
Good. And I wish you, obviously, all the success in the world. My decision to go YouTube, it's still one that I second guess, because I love writing. So Clean Sober Stoner is primarily a written blog, and I do stuff. But it's like, I am a boomer. My way of doing things will be oil in about another million years, and I have to try something different. I have to reach a different audience. So, and I'm not comfortable doing solo. You have the whole shtick down. I love it with number one with a bullet, and I'm like, oh my god, he's doing. Because my first videos, my number one video is on Uriah Heep. Their latest album, I think it's Chaos in Color. I probably have it reversed because, like I said, I get senile as soon as I get on camera. And I'm doing all the things, and it's like I don't want to do that. I really generally don't want to do that. But again, it's at like 2,000 views, where everything else I have is significantly less. But we're slowly building up a following. By the way, I just realized I'm a counselor. I work out of the same studio, so all my sessions have the gatefold for Electric Lizard behind my head, the subliminal.
It's all right. Just plant that seed.
How did you end up on Doom charts?
I was trying to think of that when you asked me if I was available to talk about it, and I just don't remember. Unfortunately, I do not remember how I was welcomed into the team. Of course, I would like to say that a friend brought me in. That would have to be the way, but I don't specifically remember what friend was like, yeah, come on in. So it's strange. I'm sorry that I'm blanking out. And if you are that friend watching, please comment on this video and be like, hey, Bobby, I'm responsible for that, you oaf. Because much like what you said, I don't remember a lot of things. I'm not saying that I forget everything, but there's just a lot of stuff that for some reason I don't retain, and I don't know why that would be one that I wouldn't retain, because it's such an important moment. But there's a lot of stuff like that, a lot of bands, a lot of albums. I just don't keep that information the way I might have with my teenage years, which I don't know if that's a course of getting on the internet and things being so fast-paced. I don't know.
Well, there's a couple theories we can explore here.
Okay.
Bobby, how many days a week do you work?
I'm on a 40-hour work schedule, 5 days a week.
You don't do any Doom charts, any video, anything outside of that 40 hours?
Oh, if you're wanting to unpop the cork and find out what my schedule is, I am a go 24/7. I really am. I wasn't joking when I said if you give me 5 minutes, I'll start a new project. I'm just consumed with activities of all kinds. So throughout the day, of course, I have a 40-hour work week, which is how I pay the bills. Everything else I do is related to hobbyism, basically, if that's the correct word for that. I might have just made that up. I don't know, but it's all hobbies. So the record store, I don't take money from the record store. I search for records. I buy records. I put them at a local shop called Collective Clothing. They are just the best people in Chattanooga. They allow me basically a booth rental for records. And we worked this out. At first, I had the store in my town, which I live about an hour from Chattanooga, Tennessee, although I claim Chattanooga as my location.
Well, what's the real location, man?
The real location now is Chattanooga, but I live in Cleveland, Tennessee, which is about an hour away. So when I first opened the store in 2010, it was in Cleveland, and it was manned with myself and a friend, Ryan, and we were the ones that kept the doors open after our work schedules as volunteers to try to keep things going. Travis and Sandra, who own Collective Clothing, they stopped by one day and were like, hey, we're interested in kind of getting in this lane, but we have too many responsibilities. Would you be interested in putting a few crates out? And then that turned into, if we're going that lane, all of the people that are shopping with me are driving from Chattanooga to Cleveland anyway. I should just bring it all with them. So I closed down the Cleveland location, and then we took it to Chattanooga. And so I'll search for records, price them, restock the store, and that's how we've done that rotation for a long time.
Is it self-sustaining at least?
Yes. But if I make $100 in records is purchased. Yeah, that's just the way it is.
So you're into the whole vinyl thing.
I'm just into music in general, and we can dig further into that if you want to, because there's a lot of people that are purists on all sides. I'm not one of those. I'm a music first person, because some of my favorite records or on tape, or on CD, or on vinyl, or on there's just a long way to go with it. I know recently I kind of was doing a little reconnaissance on you and noticed that you had been listening to the Caius and the Circus Leaves Town album again recently. So that, for example, is one album that I have a vinyl record of, I have a CD of, I have a cassette of, and I've streamed it. My favorite version of all of those is still the cassette version. A lot of people are down on cassettes for whatever reason. I don't know why. I love cassettes. Also, the Breeders' Last Splash, the cassette version is my favorite. Lenny Kravitz's Mama Said, the cassette version's my favorite. Then you can jump over to bands like A Tribe Called Quest, or maybe even Erykah Badu, which is hip-hop stuff. I love the CD versions. I've got the records. They're great too, but there's something about getting in the car and having the windows down and the radio's up a little bit, and you're listening to these hip-hop jams, and they're going that way. When it comes to records, I love a lot of jazz music. I feel like a lot of that tends to lean towards the earlier style of vinyl and how it formats with jazz. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And then there's Neil Young's Harvest. Absolutely the best version to listen to is going to be the vinyl edition on a nice tube stereo. Same way with Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. So just in that, we've got one thing, and then we're going to talk about streaming. How could you not love having access to listen to anything you want at any time, as long as the artist is providing it? I'm not down for somebody getting on there and searching around and taking from an artist, but if the artist wants it to be on Bandcamp, if they want it to be on a Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, choose your poison. They want you to hear it, and this is a great place for us to come together and go, hey, I just heard this. It's now my responsibility to go to the record store or get online and order that from the band, because I want to show them the love that I have. Yeah. That's where a lot of people tend to kind of falter. It's like, oh, I heard it, it's great, let me write about it or whatever. You don't have to buy every record you've heard. That's impossible. But you've got to commit to saying, this week I'm spending this dollar bill solely on music, whether it be a new release or one that you heard last week. You've got to, for me, it was always, as a kid, the $20 bill. You save up your lunch money while you're at school, you're not going to get a candy bar, or you're not going to get a sandwich, or maybe you won't buy a soda this time, and at the end of the week, you've got gas money, and you're going to the record store, and you're buying something, and that something was the equivalent of what this $20 bill or X dollar bill will afford. And you respected it. Sometimes you got a stinker, but you loved the process of it. And now you've got to do the same thing to remind yourself. It's like, I have X amount of money this week, and since I've listened to music streaming all week long, I'm going to dedicate this dollar to someone. Maybe it's two someones if you can find a bargain. It doesn't have to be that you're blowing your bank account out to support music. We would love to do that. Oh yeah. You just got to remember, there's some process that you got to respect there to remind the artist, whoever it is, you were the one that got my dollar this week.
We get a lot of free.
By the way, since I'm on that aspect as well, also support your local record stores.
Absolutely.
Which I buy records. I don't take anything for free from the store, just to make sure that that's noted. I buy from myself as well.
I'd love to see your bookkeeping methods. We get a lot of music on the Dune charts, and I'm always really acutely aware that it's a privilege to be getting one. They trust us not to leak it out, not to put it on our site without permission. They give us a lot of trust. I get a lot of shirts. I've posted things like I got this new shirt. I try to make it a point to, especially with an up-and-coming band, I bought this shirt. I'm proud of Dope Scum. I think their album is one of the best I've heard probably this decade. So even if it's $5 for a patch or a sticker or something, Bandcamp, you just check them out. I had everything free, but I'm still going to pay if I have a budget of $10, $20 a week, which I don't always have. I'm trying to do something for the bands. Yeah. And one thing, I don't agree with Gene Simmons on a lot of things. And even on the things I agree with him on, it's always with a comma. But he did point out that the fans are probably responsible for the decline in rock, the decline in sales, and the decline in probably the standard of living for musicians. I don't entirely disagree with that.
I think it's to each their own on the level that they want to live, because there's some people that are okay with not having a television. Some people need to own all of the streaming services in their living room. So if you're comfortable with the means that you're living in, then you have to find a source of happiness in that. You can't compare yourself to someone else, because you'll just ruin the whole thing. I mean, what's in front of you is what you have. Obviously, for us, an example, we have internet access. We have a real privilege of a job to be able to listen to music and be trusted with it. I have a wife. I don't know if you have a wife or kids. I love my wife. We're in a home together. We have dogs. I mean, what more could I really ask for, as long as I have food and water? There's a lot of people that lose the all of this records and stuff like that. I love all this stuff, but those are added bonuses to what life's all about. You've got to remember that, we recently had the Front Porch fixed on our home. We had a railing around it, and it was kind of tight to walk in and out of the house. We had it removed. We immediately put some rocking chairs on the front porch, and we literally have come home every day, walked right by the television, opened up the doors, let the dogs out, and sat on the porch and just stared at the grass and talked. No television on, not even a Bluetooth speaker or some kind of music playing. It's just been, yes, thankfully, we're not sitting in the living room like zoned in on this thing, and we're just enjoying each other's company. And that's enough. There's a lot of people that can't handle that as being enough. They feel like, I don't want to get in the weeds here, but you're scrolling through your feed and you see something and you're expecting that should be somehow related to your life. You don't know that person. I mean, why should you compare yourself in any way to that? You have, obviously, a machine that is allowing you to do this. Your life's not so hard, is it? Well, I shouldn't say it that way. Let me rephrase that. I can't judge what somebody's life is. Things can't be so bad that you're using this device. If it was that bad, that would be one of the first things that would have to go. So don't judge yourself by what other people have, and just kind of look around for a second and acknowledge if you have running water, that's a bonus. If you've got an indoor restroom, that's a bonus. There's a lot of things that people just take for granted because they've probably never been without. And I've been fortunate. My family, I have a great family. I grew up in a great place. And I'm in the country. I remember when they actually paved our road. I couldn't wait to get my skateboard and go ride my skateboard as like a 6 or 7 year old when they actually paved our road. Now, I'm not saying I had an outhouse or anything like that, but you know what I mean. I recognize that there is a big difference between what people feel that they have to have versus acknowledging what they do have, and do you need a lot.
That's really hitting home. My favorite YouTube channel, no offense, but my favorite is Misery Hymns. It's this. I had no idea how young they were, but I mentioned this a few times. I found him. I did a video where looked up black metal albums that had 0 ratings and listened to them and gave their rating. And I was just mind blown. We did a collaboration video like this, and he didn't have internet. It was basically dial-up speed. So I have the audio tracks, but even on Riverside, which is designed to buffer and do that, and shout out to Jan. He's been a good friend to this channel. Just had to move because, again, a situation outside of my control, their control. This is one of the most original, inventive creators I've ever seen, and right now is struggling because they don't have the means to do what they want to do, which is the creative analysis of music and movies. So what you're saying really brought home. I just know that on the other side of it is we do have an embarrassment of riches, and I don't think it's too much to ask that if you can, go to the show. If you can, buy the T-shirt. If you can, because we're all struggling. Like, I don't get paid for this. I know Jan doesn't get paid for it. Very few of us get paid for it. I do think the band should be paid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's probably a unique position, not unique to me, but it's a unique position that I could probably connect with because I'm a band. Sorry, I'm not a band. I'm a musician in a band. I am a store owner. I'm a label owner, and I'm also a recluse. So how do you shuffle all of these things together? Because like from the band side, you've got to get out and play. It really is the most important thing for anybody that's in a band, including myself. I'm talking to myself. You've got to get out and you've got to play locally because your community deserves to hear you. Whether you get anything out of like a mass crowd or not, that's not the point. You've got to put yourself in that position for someone who is a fan to be able to acknowledge you in that way. It's one thing to hear it, but when you put yourself in that stage of setting up the equipment and the person pays and they come and see you, the venue, they benefit. If it's a bar, say they have alcohol or whatever, there's some door money coming in that should be split amongst everybody in whatever way is previously agreed or is fair. Nobody should have to play for free unless they're saying I will pay for free, play for free, and that's up to them. I don't think it's ever fair or unfair as long as the band up front agrees this is the way we're going. From a label side, I've also presented my records to distributors, and I've seen like where I'm asking for pennies, they are putting it on their site for way blown out prices, and then they're putting what they call a retail price as this blown out price. And I'm looking at it and going, well, nobody goes to my website and buys that record at the moment, but I do know if they do, they're going to get it $15 cheaper than what the distributor is offering it. And I offer to the distributor literally at a cost that doesn't even break even with what the pressing was. I just want to get it to somebody. So that changeover is kind of what you're talking about with this wealth coming in. I'm not saying that people don't need to get paid, but how does what I offer to them become a doubled price? And this isn't getting anti on anybody, and I'm not saying any names because they're all different. I want to be clear about that. I'm just speaking from one specific instance. If somebody buys that record from them and then puts it at their record store and says this album now costs this much because that's what they claim, and then somebody pays for it, that's cool because they chose to pay for it. But then they come across me and like, why do you charge so much for your records? Like, I don't. I literally don't. You can go to the website and see that they're super cheap. But you couldn't find me. You needed to go to the one stop, which is what we all do. We do that, and it's kind of this cycle of, to circle back, you've got to put yourself out there and let people know that you exist, because if you don't, you're going to have to find another avenue, and that other avenue is going to capitalize, and you're probably going to be the one that loses in that whole segment. Does that make sense?
It does, totally.
Okay.
So let me give you. So let's see if we can combat this one little thing at a time. Who are some bands that are on Inherent Records?
Well, we've got Battle Path, who is from Nashville. Generation of Vipers from Knoxville, Tennessee. They have an album with us. Speaking of, none of these bands are specifically on Inherent Records. These are all handshake deals with friends, and we've said, hey, we like your stuff. We want to put it out. We've agreed this is the process. We'll do X amount of runs, and then it comes and goes. If we work it out where we do it again, great. If we work it out and we remain friends at the end, that is the best case scenario for me. That's what I want. I want everybody to get access to the music because I'm only investing in it because I personally love it. And I hope that other people that hear it love it as well. And if you don't, that's totally fine. A lot of people get upset about that, but I mean, who can judge art and what it is, right? Some people look at the Mona Lisa and think it's great. Other people would not even bat their eye at it, but look at a Picasso or something else, maybe a black stripe on a white canvas, and be like, oh man, this speaks to me.
Now that you mention it, Mona Lisa's a little boring. Just sitting there with this. And is it really a smile? I think it's more of a vacant. It's like, she's on a little bit too much Xanax and she's just chilling.
Depends on what side you're looking at it from, the left or the right.
So what's your band?
Well, my band's Koza, Koza. We are not on Inherent Records, by the way. That's something that we kind of agreed early on. It's like, okay, well, speaking of other bands, like Bee and Flower has a record with us. Red Necklace has some cassettes and CDs, Divine Circle. So ambient, doom, stoner, dark rock, we kind of have this whole thing that Paul, who is a folk, his album specifically is a folk record, was released on Inherent Records. But Koza, a sludge band. I play bass in that band, by the way. I don't know if I told you that or not.
You did not.
Yeah, so
we've known each other for 8 hours at this point. What the hell, man?
But just so the band knows, my first act of Congress was to send him a link to the album. We get together, we practice, we write these sludge tunes, and I just love doing that. It's really nice.
Don't you have an album coming out?
We released one in 2001.
Okay.
2021. That's time warp. 2021. Okay. Time's got away from me. That was our last release. We released it January of 2021. That is the calcification of the human ghost, which is the link that I sent you. Okay. We're ready to record. The new album is written. We're ready to record. We're currently talking about, is that going to be a self-release, self-recorded? How are we going to process this? We recorded 2 songs for a 7-inch a few months back, maybe a year ago. Time kind of slips at this point, maybe a year. But we never got it pressed or have pushed it out because with the way everything was going in the world, it's like, what are we doing? Are we investing in a record just to put it online, or are we just going to practice, write more music? And so, everybody has to find their own path, and we are all full-time working family people. So practicing is what we have. With the time we have, we take it very seriously, but it's not like we have 7 days a week of practice. So we can either practice, we can record, we can find a studio, we can prep, whatever the case is. So we have the new album written. We're ready to record. We're currently deciding, are we going to a studio to record that, since the 7-inch was recorded at a studio but never released? Or are we possibly even going to just re-record those 2 songs and put them with the album when the time comes? So if anybody out there wants to dump a few $1,000s on releasing 7-inch, let me know. If not, we're going to wait and record the album and probably put those 2 songs, a different recording on that.
Interesting. So I'm trying to think of what facet of this you're not involved in. Do you do your own booking?
Yeah, as best we can. Somebody will either message someone in the band. All 4 of us get messages. In fact, we've got 2 shows that are currently, one booked for October 14th and one possibly booked for the 20th. One person contacted the drummer, and then one person contacted me. And then usually people contact our singer because he's usually the front person that people see. People contact the guitar player. We really do keep it as a universal thing. It's not one thing. We did have a booking agent once that we tried, which was nice. They got us out to a lot of places, and we played. I enjoyed the idea of somebody taking that role, but ultimately we were happy to have control back when that faltered.
Got it. Okay, I'm about to turn into a pumpkin soon. What's next? So what can we expect in the coming weeks from your absolutely fantastic YouTube channel?
Thank you for that, first of all. Thank you for inviting me to do this.
Yeah, instant fan. It took about 10 seconds. And I went, oh my God, this is what I think the scene needs. We need more YouTube channels, not less. We need more writers, not less. We need more Doom Charts people, man, so we can keep up. So what's next? What do you have? What do you have up your sleeve?
Well, we were talking about my usual process. Every week I write about 5 album reviews that wind up going on our Instagram, which shares to Facebook. And those are things that are in stock at the store. Try to do that. I also, listen to Doom Chart stuff. Try to squeeze in an album there. I'm a little different with my Doom Chart stuff than probably some. If I hear an album and it doesn't really resonate with me, I just kind of move on. I don't put it on a list. But when I hear one that resonates with me, I'll just write a blurb about it after I've heard it. And that'll actually get submitted to the Doom Charts. So where the rest of the team does a lot of really hardcore digging and stuff, which I totally respect that, I just decided to take a different aspect. And not that people don't deserve points, because they do. But if I don't really feel the urge to write about it, maybe I won't put it on my list. And I'll just submit a smaller list.
I've gone a slightly similar, but also a big difference. When an album pisses me off, that's when I dig. And the band Sum, 3-piece, singer, bass, and drums from Canada. It was the most aggravating album I think I had probably ever heard. Oh my God, I love that album, because once it clicked, I was like, oh my God, it's a masterpiece. Similar product. It's hard for all. We all have our coping skills and how we do things. This month has been brutal for me. Like the biggest release month I can remember, I've barely been able to listen to anything. I think I've only listened to 20 albums. And usually I like to go for about 60 or so, but
yeah. If you really break it down and say that you're listening to one new album a day, I mean, it's a joy, absolute joy. But yeah, there really is work in that, because you're listening to it from a different perspective. You're listening to it from, is this going to be something I'm following up with? Because I buy the albums to consume later. Those are the ones that make it in the record library, and I can revisit them over and over. And I'm listening to those and thinking, man, I can't wait to get this record when it comes out, or I'll write a blurb about it. But I'm also thinking of it in a little bit of a mechanical way, as far as when I have a pre-submission, something that's not been released yet, and we get the chance to hear it. I do listen to it in that aspect of how does it resonate with me, and what am I going to say about it. I try not to have sometimes I'll relate it to a band just because it makes sense, but I try to never be like, well, this band sounds like X and so, so if you like them, great. Now, those are good reviews for you have the recommended if you like, and those send you immediately in that direction. Yeah. But I try to reserve that for the time that it makes sense, to where if somebody hears it and they're a fan of that band, they'll recognize that I heard something deeper in the music. Not that it sounds like this band, but there's something that resonates between those two. So, say if it sounds like Neurosis, for example, I say that because I'm wearing the shirt, or Dope Scum. I'm not going to say, this sounds like Dope Scum with so-and-so. That would be an obvious. But there might be something in the background where it's like, I hear a little bit of Hank Williams in this Dope Scum album. That type of thing. You're not going to hear it and go, hey, it sounds like Hank Williams, but there is something that resonates within the music in that. So that's the way I would utilize a band reference.
I used to try to avoid doing comparisons, mostly because it's usually the same bands we're constantly referencing to, Black Sabbath, Pentagram, maybe a few others. And then I really, once I got to know Steve Howe from Outlaws of the Sun, he has taken the band comparison to a whole new level. He's like a chef who can taste something with a blindfold and say, well, it's got a hint of elderberry. I taste some, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the way he combines it, when I try to do it the Steve Howe way, it just sounds, it comes across to me like I'm being pretentious, and I really don't know what to say. So yeah, I'm still torn on that. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, so as far as what's coming up, I mean, the creative urge, that's what I'm trying to capitalize on with the YouTube channel. I have a few ideas that I want to try. I don't really want to open them up because I feel like I'd be promising something and then maybe
I hear you.
But I do have some directions in mind. I started putting notes in my notebook on my phone. It's like, okay, here's an idea I want to try. Here's an idea I want to try. And then I realized that I was never opening back up my phone because I try to stay off of it as much as possible. So those notes were starting to get lost. And then it turned into, okay, well, I'm going to write some notes on paper. And then I fold up those pieces of paper and stick them in my pocket. And now I've got like this big, thick mound of folded pieces of paper that have been in my pocket. And I'm like, man, I'm not even getting that. So my next goal is to invest in a notebook small enough to actually put in my back pocket. So when I sit down, I'll be able to go, here's the notebook. I'm going in this direction. Stay off the digital stuff. Stay off of the folded piece of paper. Try to maybe sequence it that way. You were talking about my bookkeeping. This is it. No paper in the pocket. But I want to definitely keep doing the Doom Chart stuff because I really, once I seen that the team was responding to it in the way I had hoped, that was my first goal, was to make sure that the people who are writing understand that I'm going to mispronounce stuff. It's going to be funny. There's a lot of very interesting people that they just feel like they kind of need to open up a little bit and not read verbatim in a way that's like, okay, this is the review. Okay, this is the review, man. Let's get to it. Because when you watch it, that tends to excite me, as for somebody to be excited about music, because I am. And again, that is a character that you're seeing on that screen. It's definitely not who I am in real life, but it's something I've developed over time, and I'm happy about it. I think it's a release for me, and it's exciting, and it gets that creative urge. So the Doom charts, some other stuff that's music related, maybe some news bits, and some mystery boxes. I don't know if you've seen it yet. I did a mystery box from Beer City Records. They put it up on their website that they were selling these mystery boxes. I immediately bought one, and I was like, man, what have I got here? And I did the whole unboxing live. It was just as exciting for me as any, and I thought, I'm so glad I hit record, because I would have been this excited anyway. So, and stuff like that.
Oh man, you're a blessing. I love what you're doing for the Doom charts, and I think you're my third or fourth Doom charts. I'm hoping I've got a playlist, Meet the Doom charts. Okay. I can't thank you enough, man. This has been awesome.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
Is there anything I didn't mention or ask you that you wanted to get off your chest?
I do want to make sure to say thank you to everybody in the Doom charts, because it's their content that I'm reading first and foremost. So your content, right. My content, their content, we as a team. And the write-ups are always awesome. The team at the Doom charts, Jope and Remy and everybody behind the scenes, I can't imagine the amount of work that they're putting in, and we get to reap the benefit of being part of that. So thank you to everybody that listens to an album, submits, the people that have hands on keeping this thing rolling, this whole train, and thank you all for allowing me to voice an opinion in some funny, sarcastic way about what the Doom charts really are, and also for introducing me to music, because that was the kind of the thing. When I would see the Doom charts, I would say, half of this stuff I totally missed it. So do you start at number 1? Do you start at number 25? And let's just draw a number, and hey, I don't know this record, so I'm checking it out next. I do know that one. Maybe it's one I wrote a blurb about. Who knows? I just thought it was a really fun way for me to do what I do every month anyway, which is look at this massive list and be thankful.